All right. Welcome back to Carson's Corner, your unofficial post-game breakdown show for the Maple Leafs. Leafs lose 3-2 to Columbus in overtime, which honestly I thought was a thrilling game to watch. It had pace of play, it had hits, it had pretty much everything you wanted to see from the Maple Leafs, which was really nice. Two very glaring points that stood out to me tonight was you could tell the Leafs were missing, their big guys, their Matthews, their Nyes, even a couple of their defense, Tanev and Carlo. And the other one was personally for me, I had this as a scheduled loss. And the reason why I say that is because, you know, even though the spirits were high off of that St. Louis win and everything, Columbus isn't a good team. They're not really a bad team. It's a nice little medium step up there for the Leaf for a challenge there, but it just seems like they just didn't quite have enough depth in their lineup to really get over the hump and get that lead tonight. They were always, either right there or just chasing it, which was frustrating, but what can you do? It's that type of year. It's just not going to go much farther than that. I guess we'll start in overtime, honestly, because that was a glaring point to me. Shots were 4-1. Leafs get one opportunity, nothing really crazy, but it really seemed like they were trying to force the play a lot in overtime. I don't know if it was because Nylander's goal last game kind of hyped everybody up to be doing sweet little moves and that, but a lot of little turnovers. Nylander kind of had a nonchalant turnover there center ice that I think eventually led to the Columbus goal. But Max Domi, who's been on the bubble here for a while, a lot of criticism about him, which I think is fair, kind of just loses a step and he gets caught in between, forward to backward. He's a step late to turn around and kind of he just loses man-to-man coverage there and he goes in and scores. And it's a tough one for Domi. I felt bad for him there because, as I said, there's been a lot of criticism of him lately. And after that, I don't know what's going to happen to him. I like him as a player, and I hope they keep him on the roster. But it's just that's a tough one that you can't have that happen in overtime. Like it's obviously a game breaker, but you have to be better. So I feel like that's also where you could have had a Tanev or a Carlo or just a bigger body out there who's kind of more used to playing that position. Kind of would have been better, to be honest. But again, they're in the situation that they are. There's nothing they can do about it. Scott Lawton was back in the lineup tonight, which was nice to see. At least they get one guy back. Had some good touches tonight. He was amped up to play, which was good. He had some good speed and he had enough chances, which was nice, but he's not a game breaker. He's not somebody that's gonna, step up and go down 1-on-2 or 1-on-3 and win a game. But he is somebody that's a solid player. He had a great block tonight too. And at least it's nice getting one guy back, but it just wasn't quite enough tonight. Yarncroc was moved up to play with Nylander and Tavares. And Yarncroc is someone that I forgot even existed up till this point. Honestly, I haven't seen him really do anything. He had a fantastic start to the season. I think he had 3 straight goals, which was, incredible. But it just since then it just faded away. I don't know. I don't know where he's been. I don't know what he's been doing, but he hasn't really impacted the game whatsoever. It was nice tonight to see the Leafs actually start on time. They didn't get hemmed in their zone. It wasn't a scramble for the first little bit. Excuse me. They actually started on time and they had pace of play and they had speed. Because in the previous games that we've seen, the Leafs they just look like a slow team. They just haven't really had the pace of play that they needed. And tonight was a faster game. Tonight actually had some real pace to it. I think partly that was kind of brought on by maybe the challenge of Columbus. The Leafs seem to play up or play down, and Columbus is kind of right in that middle there. So maybe that had something to do with it. But some of the younger guys tonight too, like Cowan. Cowan played over 20 minutes tonight, which was nice. And as I said in the last video too, like he's a guy that I want to see in the lineup more. And I'm not sure why he played that much tonight. I think it's the most ice time he's ever gotten this season. And, he sets up Tavares there for a great goal, and he's had a lot of great touches, some good rushes tonight, which was nice to see. But he really reminds me of like a young Robertson. As I said on the broadcast tonight too, he seems to try to do too much with the puck. He's just kind of hyper, and he's not really like, picking a point and directing where the puck should go, or he's trying to do five things at the same time. He just needs to sort of just pick a lane, or pick where a pass is going to go and stick to it, because he kind of just, unravels there a little bit. But it's nice to see the energy. His game will come along, he'll get better, but it's nice to see the energy in a lineup like that. So I think once he comes along, he'll be like Robertson too, which has been stepping up lately. And a couple of those young guys can come up and they can actually get their game going. I think this could be huge, especially when Matthews, Nyes, and some of the D guys get back. This could turn into something good. It's not going to be an amazing season, but it could be a lot better than what it is now. First period ends 0-0, which was nice. Leafs aren't playing from behind for once. Not too much other than that. Cowan drew a penalty, which was good from, his speed and energy. They don't score, but the power play looked a lot better tonight. It had a lot of energy, dynamicness to it. It kind of reminded me of like an Edmonton power play, which is just, one of the best in the league. Maybe not by, statistical reasons, but it passes the eye test. I will say that. Second period, with a short roster, can the Leafs actually put enough pressure on to like take a lead for once and kind of control the game? And turns out not. They just didn't have the manpower for it tonight. But, you know, I guess the main thing here is like Fantilli, who is just nothing but a Leaf killer, comes in tonight and basically scores every single goal. I know the first one, tips off of Voronkov there, but that guy loves playing in Toronto. He's a good old Toronto boy that loves coming in and killing us. And I guess you hate the game, not the player, I guess. But so then it's 1-0. Right after that, he actually scores, makes it 2-0. And then right after that, Dakota Mermis, kind of a seeing eye shot from the point there, goes 5-hole, which is nice. First goal is a Maple Leaf, kind of gets the boys hyped up, which is nice to see. It's 2-1. The game's right there. The energy's back. So after that point, I was thinking, okay, how is this going to look? Can they actually do it? And they did tie it up after that, which is pretty nice from the Cowan goal to Tavares. McCabe, who has kind of had a rough couple games here, massive hit on Sillinger, and the D overall tonight looked pretty good. They were a lot tighter, even in the St. Louis game. They were better, making some hits, and I think even Nylander had a hit tonight actually, which was nice to see. I think they were just kind of. They had some energy tonight, which was good to see. See the guys make some big hits. And one thing that was really nice, and is a big point that I want to make, is after that McCabe hit on Sillinger, it was so nice to just see the play continue and not have a big, fight and whistles and all this shit. Like, just when it's a clean hit, when it's a great play, just play on. You don't have to get up and attack the guy because he caught you with your head down. Little pet peeve of mine how every hit ends in that nowadays, but fantastic play carried on. Let's continue here. Leafs take another stupid penalty. Again, they avoided this for most of the game, which was really nice. Too many men on the ice, and it wasn't even like by a little bit. They were, you got six guys in the play, 50 feet from the bench, not even close. I'm not really sure how that happens. It doesn't happen often, but you just got to be better with your line changes. And that's a critical moment in the game there. It's a critical moment where, it's tied. You have the momentum. Things are looking good. And I'm not going to say you piss it away, but you're kind of making careless mistakes, which are not contributing to you having a better chance of winning, which is, if his team actually wants to get anywhere this year, that's exactly what they got to stop doing. They kill that off. Luckily, their penalty kill's been pretty good, which is good. But the Leafs did get trapped in their own zone. I think it was like 2 or 3 minutes left in the game, and it was looking like one of those plays again where they get trapped in their zone. Guys are tired. I think Nylander was on the ice for that again too, and they actually had enough man coverage this time to eventually get the puck and get it out. I don't even think they dumped it out too. I think Nylander got it, and he was like a minute 30 into his shift, and he kind of skated it down and tried to take on four guys, which I think everybody believed he could score that situation, but obviously it didn't work out. But it's nice to see the Leafs, have a situation like that where they are trapped in their own zone, and they bend but they don't break. It was nice to see that because you have to have more kills like that. You have to just be gritty and just fight for those shooting lanes or on the boards because sometimes it's just weak. They just lose the coverage and just like last game too. They get trapped in and then boom, you're down again, which sucked. So by that time, overtime, which we already talked about, and you can't win every overtime, but it's a tough one to see that when you had possession a lot of that overtime and you just made bad passes. Like even on the Domi play, he has it in the slot and he tries to pass to, I believe it was Morgan Riley, who was right in front of the net. Like, yeah, maybe not. But it's just kind of an awkward pass. Like there's really nowhere for that play to go. It gets turned over, passed up to Fantilli, and that's it. So just not picking the spots that you need to pick. And I feel like, to hit this point home again, if that was a Matthews and a Nye situation or even a Marner, I hate to say that, but those kind of plays aren't being made. They're holding it back a little bit more. They're taking their time. And if you get to a shootout, you get to a shootout. It's unfortunate, but that's they could have had a little more patience with the puck in that situation there to just get a better shooting lane or anything, right? So it's all right. You can't be perfect every time. So it is what it is. But Habs coming up on Saturday. Let's talk about that for a second. Habs got destroyed tonight, which is kind of unusual. I think it was like 8-4 last time I checked, but Habs are, I'm not going to say they're a wagon this year, but they're somebody that I am following, even though I hate them. Honestly, I really do. As a Leafs fan, there's nothing more than I hate than the Habs. But I don't know. Again, like if the Leafs don't win the next game too, I really do think you have to hit that panic button. Assuming it's not already been pressed. I think for me, I'm being a little more cautious. But you're going into Montreal with the Bell Center, and the Habs are going to be hungry for a win, especially after how tonight went. I think it was like 8-4, and I don't know. I don't know. I mean, Wall played great tonight too, but with Stolars being out on Robida Island or whatever he is, Berube said he didn't really have much of a timeline for when he was going to be back at this point, which kind of seems like it's going to be like a never ending injury. You hope that there's enough depth there tomorrow night to just kind of play the way they played tonight and just match the energy. But I'm worried. I'm worried about Saturday night. I don't know how it's going to go. To me, if I was to make a prediction, I'd probably say it would be 4-2 Habs. Not that I hope it turns out that way, but I just think they don't have enough offensive presence to really get anything really going in the game. Unless some of the bottom guys can step up, maybe Tavares does well, and Nylander doesn't have a game where he floats around like this game. But we'll see. We'll see. But as always, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. Go Leafs, go, and have a great night. See you next one.